Well, this reaction here was requested by Underground by the channel Freebird JP. So shout out to him. He has a little over 5,000 subscribers. Freebird JP, shout out to him. Japanese folklore is strange sometimes. By the channel Freebird JP. Let's check it out.
Folklore, mysticism, whimsicality. We all love it. Japan is a country that's rich in folklore. They have stories that go back millennia about all sorts of creatures and events. By far, the most fond aspect of Japanese folklore are yokai. Yokai are Japanese folklore creatures like spirits, ghosts, demons, and other things. Some popular yokai include the tanuki, the kitsune, and the oni. Their roles and appearances vary greatly. Some yokai are auspicious and beneficial. Some are cruel and malevolent.
Seems like this is going to be an interesting video. Japanese folklore. Pretty cool.
And some are just flat out strange. Today, I'm going to be talking about the strangest yokai that I've found, because there are some weird things that I've uncovered while researching Japanese folklore. So if you're interested in learning about a ghost man who has an eyeball for a butt, or a monk whose poop tastes like persimmons, stick around, because I'm going to be talking about some strange characters.
That is strange.
Progressively more odd as the video goes along. The first of these really strange yokai that I'm going to go over is a very well-known yokai. It's actually one of the most famous yokai, but people don't really talk about just how strange this creature is, and that's the kappa. The kappa are small humanoid turtle creatures.
I think I've heard of the kappa in Nuke's Top 5 videos before, because there's a lot of videos from Japan. There's a lot of Japanese paranormal videos that Nuke's Top 5 talks about. I've heard of the kappa. It's like a half human, half frog turtle creature. Something like that, I think, if I'm remembering right.
Creatures that live in the rivers. They're supposed to be very cunning and intelligent, and if you come across a kappa on land and you get it to bow, it'll essentially be your indentured servant. But if you come across a kappa in the river, things aren't going to end well for you.
Oh, no.
The kappa is famous for ripping people to shreds. It's known to be a bane to fishermen.
Oh, God.
And a lot of times in the olden days, fishermen would toss cucumbers into the waters of rivers they were fishing in, because by folklore, kappa love cucumbers for some reason.
That's
I don't know
so
why.
random.
They're said to be very intelligent.
They like
and
cucumbers.
Crafty. And if you encounter one in the water, they'll either outsmart you or they'll just tear you open. Now, the reason why the kappa are so violent is one of the reasons why they're so strange. Well, I mean, okay, just look at them. They're weird creatures. They have a haircut that looks like a...
What the heck? Oh my gosh.
Medieval monk. They have 3 anuses, so that way they can fart 3 times as hard as humans. I'm not even kidding.
What?
This is part of their lore. Kappas are revered as kami, actually, in Shintoism, and in certain festivals, people will prepare cucumber offerings for kappa. But the reason why they're so hostile is because in the olden days, Japanese people believed that they had a special organ inside of them called the shirikodama. Shirikodama literally translates to small rectal gem. People used to believe that there was a gem inside of your digestive tract that held your soul. The kappa, what they do is they try to tear that out by putting their hands inside your...
You know what?
Oshiri.
But
the word kappa can refer to a lot of different creatures. There are a ton of kappa-like creatures. It's like a whole family of yokai. One that really stuck out to me is the next entry, which is ankle. These little buggers like to pretend to be dolls. They dress themselves up in kimonos and just sort of wait for fishermen to find them. And when they're found, if you poke them, they sort of giggle and smile. Sounds cute, right? But when these creatures get hungry, They will shove their long, sharp, hairy monkey arm up your ass, pull out your liver, rip it through, and then eat it in front of you while it's still alive.
Oh my God. What the hell? Oh.
I don't know why, but the Kappa family of
That's
yokai
no good.
really
That's not very nice. That's no good.
like tearing stuff out of people's digestive systems. That's just their thing. A couple other yokai that are related to Kappa are the Gangi Kozo, which is essentially just an elderly Kappa that eats fish. It doesn't really do much. And the Shibaten, which likes to sumo wrestle people for their vegetables.
What?
There's also the Kawa Akago, which roughly translates to Red River Child. These creatures like to pretend to be babies, and then once a fisherman or someone finds them, they will drown them. There's a theory that the reason why there are so many Kappa kami is because back in the day, like way back in the day in ancient times, people used to view Kappas and monkeys as sort of in the same family. So when people would see different kinds of monkey, they would associate it with Kappas, or
right
someone
underground
got attacked by a monkey, they would be like, oh, they were attacked by a Kappa. Let's move on to some more humanoid yokai, starting with the Kanbari Noodle. The Kanbari Noodle, which translates to Kanbari monk, is a big, hairy old man ghost that watches you in the toilet, specifically on New Year's Eve. That's it.
That's very specific. An old man ghost that likes to watch you on the toilet only on New Year's Eve. So it's only one day out of the year. That is quite specific.
He just comes around once a year and then peeps on you while you're in the toilet. And if you catch him, he'll...
This is like... I know in the Japanese culture, these are probably like scary or like, you know, scary folklore. But to me, it's more kind of like funny.
Inflict constipation on you and you'll have an unlucky year. They're thought to be bringers of bad luck.
Oh, no.
And if you go to the bathroom on New Year's Eve...
If I was on the toilet, guys, and I saw this thing looking at me through the window, I'd be like, oh, hell no. And I'd run out of the bathroom.
Make sure to chant the spell, Kanbari Noodle Hototogisu, which will scare him off. That's gotta be a terrible night. Like, imagine it's New Year's Eve, you're having fun, you're having a festival, had a little bit too much to drink,
you're on the toilet,
go to the bathroom, and then this weird ghost guy is just looking at you, and you catch him, and then he gives you constipation, and you're just screwed for the rest of the year. The word
Hey, what's up, Danielle? I've been trying to do more reaction live streams here on Twitch. So, what's up, Danielle? Thanks for stopping by here on Twitch.
Body doesn't have a definitive origin. One origin of the name comes from a Japanese reading to the kanji of a Chinese toilet god. And when I heard of the concept of a toilet god, you know I had to go deeper because I've never heard of a toilet god before. In China, the religion that people most...
A toilet god? Oh, gosh. Hey, well, guys, wish me luck. This is bad timing, but I have to go to the bathroom really quick. So if I don't come back in, let's say, 2 to 5 minutes, you know the whatever old man ghost got me. Even though I'm not in Japan, I'm in the United States. So, guys, if I'm not back within 2 to 5 minutes, the ghost got me, guys. I'll be right back, okay? I hope I'll be right back. Oh! Got it! Guys, that was a close one. He almost got me. He almost got me. But I did the chant. I chanted the thing and he went away. Woo! That was a close one, guys. Goodness. All right, let's keep watching this video.
Mostly follow is Chinese syncretism. Chinese syncretism isn't inherently a religion on its own. It's a combination of traditional Chinese folk beliefs, Taoist beliefs, Buddhist beliefs, Confucian ideologies, maybe a little bit of Christianity and Islam in some communities. That's why in China there are a lot of gods and folklore characters that aren't tied to any specific religion. But while I was looking up Chinese toilet god, I found out that there were a lot of ancient cultures that had toilet gods. It wasn't just China. There are records of ancient Rome, Greece, Korea, and even Japan having toilet gods. In fact, in the ancient Roman religion, they had a goddess of the sewer. It makes sense why these
goddess of the sewer
characters
That's
and
odd.
religious figures would exist. Places like toilets and sewers are just festering with disease and they're very dirty. When you're in the bathroom, you're in a vulnerable state. So the belief in certain bathroom-related deities was important to ancient cultures for protection. Even in the modern days, people do have religious-related bathroom rituals. In Islam, they actually have some rituals. They use a thing called a loti, which is essentially a pot of water, and they use that to clean their rear instead of using toilet paper. Let's move on to the next one, which is also butt-related. A lot of these are butt-related. There are a lot of butt-related yokai. I don't know why. It's a very common theme amongst yokai is to...
It's a weird obsession. A lot of butt-related.
have something to do with butts.
Oh, God.
This one is shirime. Shirime translates to butt eyeball. This is a faceless ghost that takes the shape of a man in a kimono. The reason why he's called butt eyeball is because he will approach people in the middle of the night, usually wandering travelers. He will initiate conversation.
Stay away from me.
If you engage in conversation with him, then he will bend over and lift up his kimono, and in place of where his rear would be, there's a massive eyeball that's shining like with a beam of light, and it stares at you. This guy purely exists to shock people. He has no other purpose. He just exists and lives his life in order to just be funny, I guess, play little practical jokes. A lot of yokai are like this. Japanese folklore is very funny. There's a lot of really humorous creatures. And this isn't me laughing at Japanese folklore. I'm not laughing at Japanese folklore. I'm laughing at these aspects of Japanese folklore that are sort of intentionally made to be funny.
Aspects? Did he say he's laughing at the ass specs?
The idea of a creature whose sole existence is to stare at people with his butt eye, that's objectively hilarious. That is side-splittingly funny. There are a lot of yokai that exist just for one specific function, like the amikiri. This lobster-looking thing has one job. It cuts nets. That's it. It's just a jerk. It has no other existence than to just cut nets. The next yokai that I'm going to be talking about are the last ones that have to do with any sort of, I guess, bathroom activities. And I put both of these in the same section because they're both really similar. And that's the Ringo no Kai and Tantan Kororin. I did a lot of research for this video on yokai.com.
Does this guy live in Japan? I mean, he doesn't look Japanese, but it seems like his Japanese is pretty good. Like his pronunciations of the Japanese folklore characters, his pronunciation seems pretty good. Maybe he knows Japanese. I don't know.
Yokai.com refers to these two as scatological fruit yokai.
What?
If you don't know what scatological means, don't look it up like in a public place or if you have a weak stomach. When I was on yokai.com and I saw scatological fruit yokai, I just had to do these two. The first one, Ringo no Kai, which means apple spirit, comes from folklore of the Akita prefecture. The Akita prefecture is known for their apples. In fact, most of the apples in Japan are grown in northern Honshu where Akita is. But the Ringo no Kai are the spirits of apple trees, which had fruit sit too long on the branch without being picked.
So like
And
rotten,
they don't have any strange physical
like
qualities.
rotten apples.
But their behavior is pretty freaking weird. In the village of Kakunodate, which is a real village, there is a story that circulates about the Ringo no Kai. And I'm going to tell you the story because it's shocking. One day in the village of Kakunodate, an elderly man who lived alone.
I have no visuals for this part. That's for the best. Oh, God.
Received a knock at his door. Upon opening, he saw a strange man who asked him if he could eat the old man's excrement. What would you expect the average normal person to do when a stranger knocks on your door and asks to eat your shit? Would you slam the door in his face? Would you scream?
I would probably just stand at the door in shock and be like, what did you just ask me? What?
Would you just freeze up and not say anything because you're so baffled?
What's up, Daniel?
Well, this old man obliges, and he takes a dish and he defecates into the dish and then gives it to the stranger. The stranger then just eats it with glee. He's just so happy eating this old man's excrement.
Best day of his life, I guess.
Finishing the old man's poop, he reaches his hand behind himself and then takes a dookie in his own hand and then holds it up to the old man and says to him, "Eat it." So the old man
no.
eats it, and he says that it tasted delicious. So delicious, in fact, that he shouted with delight. So night after night, the stranger and the old man would engage in these coprophagic rituals where they're just eating each other's
every night? Oh my God.
droppings.
I'm gonna be sick.
Night after night. Until eventually the old man gets suspicious. So out of nowhere, as the stranger is leaving one night after a really delicious feast,
A dookie.
the old man grabs a big knife and throws it at the stranger. And it hits the stranger in the back and leaves a big gash. And the stranger screams and runs away. The old man follows the stranger, and eventually he gets to...
This is definitely one of the top 10 weirdest stories I've ever heard. It's kind of comical. Like, what the heck?
an apple tree that was in his backyard. And he notices that in the apple tree, there was a gash, which he'd never seen before. He then realized that the stranger was actually the spirit of the apple tree, and the feces he was eating was the unpicked apples that began to rot. That's why it tasted so sweet. You know, a lot of stories about yokai and
that's so random
creatures have morals to them. The tortoise and the hare, the boy who cried wolf, the lion and the mouse. These are all very popular folk stories and fables that have some sort of message to them. And a lot of these yokai stories have messages to them. I think the message with this is pick the fruit on your trees lest bad things happen. Don't waste food. I can't figure out the moral to this. It's an odd story. The other one, Tantan Kororin, from the neighboring Miyagi prefecture, is actually even weirder. When I was researching this, I had
even weirder. How does it get any more weird than the last story?
no idea that things could get stranger than the apple shit man, but it did get stranger. Tantan Kororin is a monk, a big monk, who has sort of a reddish orange face that looks like a persimmon. There are a couple stories about this guy.
Welcome
Three
back,
of
Ryan.
them. I'm going to tell all three of them. The first story is probably the most tame one. It's actually not that bad at all. It's just a family who noticed a strange man with an orange face, and his kimono was just overflowing with persimmons. The family followed this old man, this monk, until he eventually came to a persimmon tree and then disappeared into thin air. That's story number one. Very simple, harmless. It's just a dude who, I guess, has a lot of persimmons, you know, the spirit of the persimmon tree. The second story, things get a little nasty. Once in the mountains, a young monk at a temple was approached by a stranger. What do you think the stranger did? If you guessed, took a shit in a bowl and then ground it up with a mortar and pestle and then forced the monk to eat it, you'd be correct, because that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what I guessed.
He realized it tasted like persimmons. The strange man left, and then the monk told the high priest about it. The high priest says, well, we gotta find this man. So they follow the tracks of this man, and eventually it takes them back to this big old persimmon tree that's ripe with fruit. And they concluded that the man who came up to them in the temple was the spirit of the persimmon tree. The final story of the Tantan Kororin that I found, I have no words. I'm just gonna let it speak for itself. Once upon a time, there lived a servant girl in the city of Kurihara. Outside of her master's house in the yard, there is a persimmon tree, and one day she was gazing upon the persimmons, just wishing she could taste one. Nighttime rolls around, and a stranger comes to the house. The servant girl answers, and this stranger is a monk with an orange face.
Oh,
This
God.
strange man
Not
looks at
him
her,
again.
bends over, and demands that the servant girl get a stick and then shove it up his... Yeah. So this girl is absolutely terrified.
Oh, my
and
God.
does it anyways because she is scared of this horrifying man. After she shoves the stick in his keister, he tells
Keister?
her to scrape around a little bit. Then he said, now pull it out and taste it. She does. And it tastes...
Like
what do you think it tastes like?
Persimmon tree.
That's right. Persimmons. And the next morning, she wakes up.
Oh, man.
She notices that all of the persimmons in the persimmon tree have a finger-sized hole inside of them. Oh my God. Okay, that's it. No more poop yokai. I'm done. Let's move on to the next one.
So random
The
and
gyochi,
weird.
which translates to pinworm, is a small yokai. It looks like a little bug. Gyochu are a yokai that actually come from the Koshin faith. The Koshin is an esoteric Japanese folk religion that has roots in Taoism. It's not really practiced anymore, but it was prominent for a little bit. The Gyochu are little yokai that manifest in genitalia. They are sexually transmitted. Followers of this religion will abstain from intercourse on the 60th night of the Chinese calendar. So every 60 days on the day Koshin no Hi, people will be abstinent. The reason why this is because they believe that if they do have intercourse on this night, then they will catch the gyochu. The gyochu, once you catch it, it just
So
gives
dumb.
you leprosy. So yeah, the STD yokai. How the hell is a sexually transmitted bug creature that gives you leprosy less strange than the spirit of the apple? The spirit of the apple just sounds wonderful. It sounds like a magical, friendly thing. A nice, jolly man who gives people apples. You know, just a wonderful guy. He's not. He's a weird, shit-eating weirdo. The final yokai that I'm going to talk about today is one of the most obscure yokai ever, and that's Kibble. Kibble literally translates to hair boy. The legend behind Kibble is that when a shrimp or
That's
crab
creepy.
grows old, they will eventually transform into the Kibble. This creature takes the appearance of a small boy
A shrimp?
with 4 legs,
What?
2 arms with claws, a flat crab shell-like face, a bald head, and a skirt of hair, hence the name Hair Boy. They don't
Hair
really do
boy.
much. They mostly just sort of eat fish. They're not that strange, at least not compared to others, but I put it on here because it's a very obscure yokai. In fact, there's only like one official depiction of it that exists. It's this picture that I'm showing now, and
it's kind of creepy.
I showed in the beginning of this segment. The kibble is said to inhabit small bodies of water in the Kagoshima prefecture. I've been to Kagoshima before. I never saw any of these kibble. Maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. I like this one. No butts, no poop, no weird creepy old men staring at you in the toilet. Just a crab boy. It's just wholesome, you know? To end this video, I'd like to say that when I tell these weird stories, I want to clarify that strange things happening in mythology by no means is a uniquely Japanese thing. Most mythology is shockingly bizarre. I remember in high school, I took a class on classical mythology, and one day we learned about the ancient Greek cosmology and the creation myth. On your own time, I'd suggest you research the birth of Aphrodite. All I'm gonna say about the birth of Aphrodite is that it involves a sickle and some family troubles. But thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed all these strange stories that I told today. Let me know if you know of any strange folklore characters from...
Well, guys, I actually enjoyed this video. Again, this was by the channel Freebird JP. Japanese folklore is strange sometimes. This video only has 3,500 views, so guys, go check him out. Freebird JP on
some top 5 reaction.
Yo, Underground, thank you, man. Guys, go check out Freebird JP on YouTube. I'm going to leave a like on that video. Go check them out, guys. That was a very strange but pretty interesting video.